From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, son.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Before we get to our Krueger's Quick Cast, here's what we've got going on as we look at our deeper dive. A lot to talk about, mainly the bigger summer heat, but we do have some relief in sight and store for us. So the summer heat has arrived. Very hot into the weekend, even into early next week. A slight dip in our temperatures as we get towards the latter part of next week. And looking at the longer range, could we be talking about an even bigger heat wave heading our way? We'll look to get into that into the deeper dive. But first, here's a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast for your Friday, July 11th. For those of you that are in a hurry, just want to know what to expect here for tonight and tomorrow. Still another mild, really warm night. We're talking mid-70s on average for the valley, 50s for most of the higher elevations, and even along the coast. Even some of the warmer spots tonight in the mountains could see some 60s for your overnight lows. It's going to be a little smoky, hazy, just depending on where you are, including the valley. It's going to be warm, low 80s for the valley by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, 60s and 70s for the higher elevations, and for the coast in the upper 50s. So that big, broad ridge of high pressure is responsible for the heat that we will be looking at here throughout the weekend. Let's take a look at futurecast here. No rain, no thunderstorms in the forecast, and even some clearing for the coast. Look at this, by tomorrow morning, still some fog. It looks like even around Humboldt Bay, but even in the morning, you're looking at mainly clear skies, and then looks like by Saturday evening, some fog will start to return and make its way, especially for Saturday night. Look at the afternoon clouds for the mountains in Siskiyou, Modoc, and in the eastern mountains as well. No thunderstorms, though, just those afternoon convective, puffy cumulus clouds. The wind, really no wind events here. A little breezy at times for some of those mountain ridge tops, but otherwise, fairly calm winds, although the winds may pick up a bit here from the south for the valley and out towards central Siskiyou County for your Saturday afternoon. It's going to be close to, if not right around 110 degrees for the north end of the valley, more like 102 to 104 for places like Willows to Chico. 90s for most of the higher elevations, so another very hot day in store for us for your Saturday. We take a look at the 10-day trend here, or excuse me, the 7-day outlook, and you can see temperatures about 108 for Sunday, Monday for Redding, but temperatures will start to slowly drop and could eventually drop below 100 degrees for the valley later next week. For the coast, mid-60s. What, surprise, surprise, right? Inland and for Trinity County, temperatures also dropping. Same trend for the higher elevations as well. Now, as of right now, you'll notice Alturas does not have any thunderstorms in the forecast. In our deeper dive here in just a second, we're going to talk about that potential maybe on Sunday. Let's take a look at that here in our deeper dive. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the free Weather NorCal app that you have access to. You know, if you're looking for an app that's local, all about Northern California, then you've come to the right place. Go to your app store, search for Weather NorCal, and you can download the app for free. And it goes with you. It'll give you watches and warnings wherever you go, but it will also give you watches and warnings, by the way, that typically come out before the National Weather Service issues them, and they go right to your Weather NorCal app notifications, and you can get those warnings. So again, Weather NorCal, search for it in your app store and download it for free today. Here's a look at your fire weather forecast, sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you that conditions can change rapidly with the fires. As you know, if you watch my forecast, I do detailed information about any fires that are out there. Fire perimeters, percentage containment, the works. I do that in the morning update and Coffee with Krueger. But I don't typically do that unless something major is happening in the afternoon and this evening update as well. So if you want to find out the latest throughout the day and night, 24 hours a day really, just go to weathernorcal.com, click on the fire danger section, and you've got all the information you need right there at your fingertips. All right, let's take a look at the forecast winds. And I show you the winds here pretty much every day just to illustrate whether or not we have any wind events. And we really don't have any wind events coming in, but you can see by tomorrow afternoon, the winds will pick up from the south, a little gusty at times, 20, maybe 25 miles per hour, and even towards central Siskiyou County, known as Shasta Valley. That is also going to be an area of concern. We take you into your Sunday morning, fairly calm winds, And as we go into Sunday afternoon, winds picking back up again, mainly a little bit from the south. And you can see also coming in from the east out towards the eastern mountains and pretty gusty towards central Siskiyou County as well. So yes, we do have those afternoon winds kicking in. That is going to elevate our fire weather risk, because with those winds picking up around 20 miles per hour, which by the way, not a major wind event, but strong enough to be a bit of a concern. Very hot temperatures and humidity levels, as indicated by these numbers here, they're very low. So we're starting to see some deep reds in there. Now we're getting into the very high category. That's a little more uncommon for us, and that's usually when we start getting a little bit more concerned about these fires should they start, because then they would have a better opportunity to spread rapidly. Now you'll notice not as deep with those reds going into your Sunday, but still within that high range. So still that elevated fire risk throughout the weekend, just something to be mindful of as you're doing any outdoor activities, and you don't want to do anything that could spark a fire. You really want to prevent that from happening. All right, so for tonight, you can see coming in from the Butler Fire, Summit Fire, even the Green Fire. So the Green Fire is going to be pushing smoke into the Bernie area and into Lassen County later tonight. Here you can see the Butler Fire is going to be pushing smoke down into Trinity County and eventually working its way down into parts of the valley, but more in the form of haze and a little bit of smoke. That smoke should dissipate towards Lassen County for your Saturday morning. There's the Green Fire and the Butler Fire still producing some smoke. Then we go through Saturday around midday. The smoke starts to begin to billow up again because those fires begin to breathe in that heat, and we start to see that smoke begin to move back out in some areas. Now, the winds are going to shift a bit. They're going to be coming, instead of the north to south, they're going to be coming from south to north. That's going to blow the smoke from the Green Fire up into southeastern Siskiyou, Modoc, northeastern Lassen County as well. We're still going to see some of that smoke settle from the Summit and Butler fires down into northern Trinity County as we go into Saturday night. But bottom line, still some haze and some dense smoke in some areas, especially if you're close to those fires. Big ridge of high pressure, that is the big feature that's going to keep us on the hot side over the weekend. Also want to show you the water vapor imagery. What this does is shows you the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, or lack thereof. Very dry are the orange colors. Yeah, look at that. It's just all transporting right into Northern California, and even some dry air coming in from the north. So we don't have to really worry too much about thunderstorms, or do we? And the reason I say that, we've got, see this right here? We've got monsoon moisture rotating around an area of high pressure. Now, as this high pressure continues to move a little bit more over Southern California, the flow around that low could bring in some of that monsoon moisture and work its way into parts of Northern California. Now, keep that in mind when we look at futurecasts here, because we are going to see the potential for thunderstorms possibly in some areas, which we'll get into here. But again, two big pockets of heat down to our south, one to our west. Those will be impacting us over the weekend with very hot temperatures, even into Monday of next week. But I've got my eyes on this storm system right here. You see how that's moving? A piece of energy is going to break off from that and shift down to the south. Now, it won't be cold air by the time it reaches us, but it will be more mild air. And it's also going to help to push the heat over the desert southwest, back over the desert southwest, and this heat back over to the west of us as well. As a result, our temperatures will drop. You look at that 10-day trend, very hot over the weekend into Monday, but see how temperatures are dipping by the end of next week, but then kind of coming back up closer to normal by that next weekend. So yes, there is relief in sight, and it looks like we'll finally get to drop below 100 degrees possibly for the valley as well. Let's take a look at futurecast here. We're going to take you over through the weekend here. There you can see, look at this, Saturday morning, not much in the way of fog even for the Humboldt Bay, maybe early in the morning. But sunny skies to start off the day on Saturday, and then that fog will kind of start to move in a little bit closer by the time we get into Saturday evening, Saturday night, and by Saturday night it should be foggy for most of you along the coast. Now, you can still see some afternoon clouds developing for some of the higher elevations, and maybe even a pop-up shower for parts of the northern Sierra. So, you know, places like southeastern Plumas County could maybe see a stray shower, but I'm not really too optimistic about that. There's the fog developing along the coast as we go to Saturday night and Sunday morning. Look at these clouds. Now, again, remember I was talking about that monsoon moisture could be working its way northward. See what's happening? It's the flow around that area of high pressure that could bring in some of that monsoon moisture. This might be overdoing it as far as how strong these look to be, but we can't rule out at least a stray shower, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm here or there. Now, I think most of it would be in Modoc County, but you can see it's working its way into parts of Siskiyou and maybe even some of the eastern mountains as well. Be sure to keep watching over the weekend. Chase Wilson will have the latest on this. Still not really putting this in stone on the 7-day forecast, but it is something that we'll be watching here at Weather NorCal. All right, here's a look at your wave heights. You can see they're going to be fairly high throughout the weekend, unfortunately. And that is going to mean if you're going to be in a small boat, you definitely need to take precaution. There is a small craft advisory once again for your Saturday and most likely going into Sunday as well. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. It is still a hot day out there. The peak of the heat wave is really today and tomorrow, and then temperatures kind of level out for Sunday, Monday before we see that dip in the temperatures going into the middle and latter part of next week. For the coast, mid-60s though, so really no big peaks or valleys in that overall temperature trend. So yeah, it's pretty standard, right, for the coast at least. Orleans 104, 105 Aruba. Look at Willow Creek, a high of 107 degrees. Gas Key about 101. Look at Siskiyou County, upper 90s to about 100 degrees. Man, look at that, 105 in Happy Camp. 94 Tennant and Dunsmuir, about 100 degrees. But again, just like everyone else, you're going to be looking at those temperatures dropping near the end of next week. 98 for Alturas, some of us could touch 100. 97 degrees in Canby, 95 Aden. Fort Bidwell, 96. And again, maybe that slight chance for a shower or a thunderstorm on Sunday. Look at the Eastern Mountains. Shingletown, 96, 97 for Chester for your Saturday, 100 in Janesville, 102 in Susanville and Paradise, about 97 degrees. There's look at your valley. Well, yeah, I mean, 100 degrees or higher for pretty much everyone. Biggs, 100, 101 for Gridley. You start heading northward and those temperatures do get hotter. That's pretty typical for us around here. Taking a look at your 7-day forecast for Chico. Those overnight lows should eventually drop down to the 60s by the middle of next week. Otherwise, temperatures are dropping as we go into the middle and latter part of next week. We could touch 110 degrees again here for tomorrow. Look for a high of about 109 for Redding, 109 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake, and 105 for Whiskeytown and Lakehead. And looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, it is hot over the weekend, even into early next week, but back in the 90s by Thursday and Friday. That is your evening update. I'll be back again, well, not until Monday morning from a special location remotely. Where will it be? Be sure to tune in or be sure to watch Coffee with Krueger at 6:30 in the morning live on Monday, and the 6 o'clock in the morning update for maybe even a sooner announcement of where I will be. In the meantime, be sure to check in the latest forecast with Chase Wilson over the weekend. He'll have the latest on that potential for thunderstorms in Modoc County. Have a great weekend, everyone.